So let's go ahead and let's introduce Chris Lorch. He works with faculty and department staff at Duke University to create engaging learning experiences using technology. He provides technical support and leadership for projects and experiments which extend and enhance Duke's e-learning ecosystem. So we're very happy to have him today, and we welcome him. So please feel free to type questions in the chat as we go, and we'll try to address them. Go ahead, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Maybe write in the chat if you can hear me all right. Great. All right, let's get started. I'll switch over and share my screen. Okay. And how does that look? Is that all right? I'll try to turn it up a little bit. Okay. Testing. Sounds good. Sounds good. Alrighty. And I'll try to adjust the audio as we go. Okay. So here's an overview of what we'd like to do today. We'll try to keep the presentation section a little bit shorter, and we'll have a focused discussion towards the end, specifically about grading in forums. We'd really like your feedback on some of the suggestions we've made, and let's jump right in. Okay, so I'd like to maybe start out. If you have a microphone, you could just say who you are, and maybe we can go one by one. Or you can also use, another idea I had was you can use the raise hand feature, and I can just go through and ask a few questions. So who uses forums often in Sakai, or who supports faculty who use forums heavily in their courses, in online courses? And you can use the raise hand feature in participants. We can also go through, I'll start reading off folks, and maybe you can, let's try it this way. Let's go one by one. I'll call out folks who are using mics, if that's okay. So John Ansorge.
Sorry, I just joined.
Hey, John.
Hi, everybody. What are you looking for?
Sure, just your name and maybe your affiliation of some kind.
Sure, yeah, I'm John Ansorga. I'm with Oregon Health and Science University, sort of our Sakai admin, and yeah, just looking forward to seeing what's going on with forums.
Great. Adrian, if you have your mic.
Yeah, yeah, hi. So Adrian Fish, I work for Longsight. I've just started with Longsight. I wrote the kind of YAFT forum tool when I was at Lancaster because of the kind of problems we were having with forums at the time, and the way people were kind of saying that the Moodle's forums tool was just way better, and the forums tool in Sakai kind of made it a bit of a high hurdle to take on. So that's my interest in forums. So yeah.
Great. Hooray, Adrian at Longsight. Christine, you can go ahead. Christine Sweet.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I just jumped in the room. Just now, are we doing introductions? Is that?
Yeah, sure. Just your name and affiliation if you'd like.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Christine Sweet. You're,
Great. Dee Shore. All right. Danny B.
Hi, I'm an IT tech for the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences at the Texas State University Health Sciences Center. Just trying to see how we can better utilize forums for some of our departments.
Excellent. Avril Best. Avril, sorry.
Hi, Avril.
Avril, that's right.
Yes, Grenada in the West Indies, St. George's University, Sakai administrator, and we support the use of forums for faculty.
Great. Great to virtually meet you.
Yes.
Danny B.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Dan at Rhode Island.
Oh, hi, I'm Dan Prasad from University of Rhode Island. I support faculty using presentation applications such as Camtasia Studio, Sonic Foundry, and I'm just here to learn what I can about forums.
Great. Eric Green. All right, I'll keep going. Francois, OC. Okay, Greg Doyle. All right, Kelly Berry. Okay, Manuel Alamansa. MC Komish. Paul Dignall.
Hi, I'm an instructional designer here at the University of Dayton, and you know, when we do online courses, you know, it's peer-to-peer idea exchange is an important element most of the time, and so the forums tool is kind of the go-to for accomplishing that if it is an asynchronous class.
Great. Susie Hurtado. Trace Moore.
Hi, I'm Trace Moore, and I work for Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, School of Health Professions. We just support forums and a lot of the faculty that use Sakai, so that's what I'm here for.
Great. Let's go back. Susie, if you're there.
Hi, this is Kara McComish. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I didn't realize how to unmute earlier when you said my name. I'm a faculty member at UNC Chapel Hill, and I use the Sakai forums for courses that I teach, mainly as like a discussion thread for students weekly about the readings and assignments that they have to hear their feedback.
Glad to have you here. We're right down the street at Duke. We're really pretty close if other folks don't know.
Yeah, wonderful.
Has anyone else want to introduce themselves before we jump in?
Chris,
Well,
we have two on the chat feature as well.
Miguel Pellicer here from Spain. I'm part of the developer community, and I work with forums on weekly basis, and I would like to know what the community wants to do with it in the future.
Awesome. And I know Maria just jumped in. I'll say Susie said she's with a School of Health Professions at Texas Tech University Health Sciences. Trace Moore. And we also have Chris Dickman. I'm an ID at Loyola Chicago in the Office of Online Learning. Forums used just in about every course. And Kelly is at Loyola in Chicago. She often encourages faculty to use forums. And Amy at Durham Tech, Charles at Illinois, Greg at Notre Dame. And I'll just leave a few seconds here for anyone else, and then we can jump in. Maria? I'm already losing track, so I might be repeating folks. Sorry. Alrighty, well, there's always time later, and we'll be having a little discussion. Okay, so this section is going to be about what the forum tool, Sakai Modernize Forums project is. And I'll give just a brief overview, and then I'll describe some of the efforts that the group has made so far. So the project was formed around, actually, it was the most popular feature enhancement on Farm's idea generation board. It's a community effort that involves more than 20 Apereo-affiliated organizations and viewers like you, contributors like you. We're really intending to add value for the forums tool in upcoming releases of Sakai. And that really depends on the feedback and sort of scoping and focus that I'll talk about in a second here. but we really do want to add value and not just add functionality, but really identify what are the communities that use Sakai, what are the needs there, and how can we reach those and gather buy-in and make the most impact that we can with the funding we have. Okay, so what work have we done so far on this project? I sort of broke this down into a few phases. These aren't really official in any sort of sense, but the group started out, I think at Sakai Camp, a year and a half ago, I believe, and really started out with the idea to do some competitive analysis. And by the way, I'll link the slides later. There's some links here in this document, and there actually is an overall, I should have mentioned, a collected notes document that will give you a more general, a broader view of what's been done so far. So the group surveyed the functionality of Sakai and other popular platforms forum tools. And I think this is an important distinction. The group collectively decided, we had a lot of discussion about this, to not integrate another open source forum tool or even really recreate another forum tool as it's been suggested. At least at that time, we decided that was a good way to move forward and a good distinction to make. Main reason I would at least say, or my insight or suggestion around that would be the options that we found either lacks community support or the ability to integrate with the pedagogical functionality and design existing in Sakai already. And so these findings have actually informed the feature request and mockup development of the forums tool modernization efforts so far. So we got a lot of value, I think, out of looking at existing options and deciding, making decisions early on that are really going to, I think, help us focus in. And that's really what this next part is, focus phase. We really needed to develop a refined scope and priorities. And I'll show you in a second why this is important, because folks had a lot of things that they wanted to improve about forums, as they do for any tool in Sakai. Another important point I'll just mention here that's not on the slides, a lot of schools use other tools or have courses that they support which use other forums tools. And so the competitive analysis gave us a sense of what is the forums tool's value in Sakai that's not achieved by any other platform or offered by other platforms. And also what can we derive from those platforms that would be great to have in forums. And truth be told, we ended up with a lot of different options. We created several mock-ups that weren't adopted. But we also found overlap with projects like the user interface inventory. Improvements to gradebook, I think, will be important, in sort of helping, just as they have in other tools like assignments and tests and quizzes. The improvements in gradebook itself, I think, are going to go a long way to inform the decisions made about forums. So in that vein, we wanted to reach out to user interface experience groups, the usability efforts. Tiffany in the accessibility working group has had a lot of really great input. And Jolie also created this heuristic analysis that I'll highlight because I think it was super important. Jolie, my colleague at Duke, when we drafted some early mock-ups and surveys, the heuristic analysis, I think, was a short document that really helped us think about, rather than just broadly survey and get a general idea of what people wanted, or the support suggestions that people have come to us with. What are some of the ways that we can focus from a design perspective, from a usability perspective, from a UI perspective? And so she used the Nielsen, this will be linked here, but she used the Nielsen criteria to perform that analysis. And I think that's helped us guide things a little more and focus things. Okay, so warning, brace for a very busy slide. Are you ready? Okay. What does improved forums mean? Well, here's a whole list of things that people really wanted out of Sakai. And so I think dividing this into what are things people want, what are most desirable features, and what do users really need, what's non-negotiable, I think that actually really helped us to think about what are some of the main areas that folks want to focus in on. And I'll specifically focus on this section here. because I think this is going to guide some of the future discussion. Navigation being the first and foremost main point of discussion. Sort of authoring, and then assessment, grading. But obviously, a lot of other ideas, really great input, and oops, I'll jump right back to that. And just in general, we had a lot of really great input. So I guess I show this to sort of point out we have a lot of ideas here, and we really want to focus in and decide what, how far can we stretch the funding that we have. Turn off annotation. Okay. Last phase, prototyping, design, building, iterate. This is really where we're at right now for at least the first sort of group of milestones, or the first milestone area. We created some mock-ups for navigation improvements being the first and foremost sort of vote getter. And we did some user experience testing, iterated on that experience testing. And we submitted some of the feature requests in JIRA. So the parent JIRA is Sakai 40408. You can look into that and get a sense of the progress. We'd really like you to comment. I'll get to that in a second. Another really important milestone was the Java Server Faces upgrade. And that's been completed for Sakai 19, alongside did some work on this, Tornos, I think, as well. And we are excited about that as well, because that sort of paves the way for some, to give us the ability to improve Sakai going forward in forums. Okay, so how do you get involved? Participate in the next call on November 15th. You can join through that link. You can talk in the forum's Modern channel on Slack. So sign up for Slack at that link. And look through the collected notes document. You can provide some feedback and comments on this sort of collected notes. And we're trying to keep that updated and relevant as we go forward. Okay, so we can either break out into groups here, or we could just have a broader discussion. Maybe write in the chat what you'd like. I'll just suggest, though, I think the grading in forums is going to be really the focus here. And I realized I think I skipped a slide. I'll go back a second here. So the proposed milestones, navigation improvements are where we're at right now. We've submitted those in JIRA feature requests. The next areas will be grading and feedback, as well as authoring improvements later on. And that's what the group has really honed in on over the past year of discussion and refinement. So what do you want to see improved with grading in forums? We can either open that up broadly, or would we like to try breaking into groups? I will hop back to see if we can break out into groups. Oh yeah, okay. I'll just go back to this slide. So broadly, I'd like to open up the floor. And what do you want to see improved with grading in forums? And we can talk more widely about what you want to see improved in forums, but I hope to focus the conversation specifically on grading, since that's where the group's really at this point. So open floor. In chat, John says, I had a faculty member who was frustrated that you couldn't enter a grade on the screen that showed student posts. Has anyone else experienced that? Or what have been your experiences with forums grading?
Yeah, and just to clarify that, so if when you can go to grade, I think you can you know, there's like a list of all the students and you can enter a grade there, and then you can grade an individual post. But she wanted to go to like, there's a screen where you can say, show me everything that students posted in all forums, or maybe just in one topic. But that's sort of like Sakai provides it as like, here's a reference, and then go back to where you were and remember what you're thinking right now, and then type it in. And oh, if you need to come back here, copy and paste that into some other place that's going to keep it, because I won't remember it because I'm Sakai. So anyway, that I mean, she was frustrated, and you know, it was one of those times, and I'm sure we've all experienced it, where you say, yeah, that would be good to change.
Definitely agree. Charles says a way to see both the list of students for grade entry and topics and threads at the same time. Does anyone else have any reactions or want to expound upon some of these ideas?
You know, one thought just off the top of my head would be if the grading was instead of like, especially the grade post, if you want to grade a post, instead of having to go to a totally different screen, if it just like popped up like a little modal sort of thing, you know, you enter your grade or a comment, save, and you don't have to actually leave the forum post, which I think kind of would cover what Charles is asking for.
Yeah, and I think I'll just comment on that. A lot of folks were saying that the existing comment functionality in the gradebook, you know, may not be sufficient to provide feedback. So having organization and UI improvements, in addition to, you know, having sort of areas for feedback, you know, beyond maybe having a letter grade, having some qualitative feedback areas that make sense, right? So, do others have any thoughts, suggestions? Miguel, you hit it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. Do you want to expound a little more on the actually creating a gradebook item from forums? This is something Tiffany talks about a lot.
Yeah, basically in other tools like assignments or assessments, you can, when you create a new assignment or a new assessment, you can also create a new gradebook item and link to it. So if you put a grade in assignment, then it's sent to gradebook automatically. But in forums, it's different. It's not consistent. So first, you need to go to the gradebook, create the item, and then link it to forum. So it's kind of weird, and it worked like that for 10 years. And I always receive negative comments about that.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a home run if we can make that happen.
So another thing that it's not exactly grading, but it's related to forums grading is I get requests from students kind of regularly that basically they're asking for some of the same abilities to see what other students have posted or see just what they have posted in one place. So it's similar, obviously they wouldn't have the grading aspects of those views, but just a way to say, where have I posted everywhere, or what has this person, I want to see what else this person's posting in other places. So similar ways to like kind of look at, you know, the participation of other people, which maybe wouldn't be appropriate always, but it seems like it could be, if it could be enabled. Most of the work's done. It's just a question of showing the right things to the right roles.
Definitely. And I definitely point that out is permissioning in Sakai, excuse me, permissioning in Sakai is also one of the benefits, I think, of the collaborative nature and design of Sakai overall. You know, Chuck was saying earlier, you know, Sakai is really a collaboration tool or platform that has a learning management system inside. Chuck Severance, I'm speaking of. And so I think to that end, if we think about forums as in that vein, I think that that's an astute point, is that we want those things to work together. The permissioning, the grouping, and all of that sort of robust functionality, and make that part of the grading design, make that more apparent. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Kelly and Valerie are also agreeing with Miguel's suggestion. Miguel's suggestion to create a gradebook item for forums again. Do other folks want to expound? Why would that be useful for your faculty or your group? We do have a few more minutes here too. Does anyone want to bring up other topics around forums? Avril suggests a summary page of the original posts and responses to other posts for each student that links back to the posts or provides a pop-up of the message to assignment criteria so that can be graded and checked. And definitely feel free to expound upon that, or if others want to jump in on that idea, go for it. Aha, Josh. Would you like to talk a second about the centralized grading service, potentially?
Sure, I will. I'll channel Earl a little bit. So what he tells me is that there are several tools that actually handle grades and store grades. So there's the gradebook itself. You guys know better than I which tools actually do grading, but there's also this weird synchronization within Sakai of grades between tools. So one of the questions I had is if we wanted to see grading approached in a more effective way in forums, would having a centralized grading service so that forums doesn't have to be a place that handles grades differently than the other tools maybe be a part of the solution.
Certainly. I think anyone can feel free to jump in on that idea. I'll give it just a moment of pause. Charles is saying, why is it useful? Because it's different from other tools and easy to be working in forums and realize that you haven't created the gradebook item yet. You then have to go to gradebook, create items, and then return to forums. Exactly. Carrie points out the efficiency. Miguel also pointed out liking and upvoting posts so the best responses are shown first. I see that, and I think that's a really interesting point. One of the things on this list was, I believe, was having ranking. And I know that's a feature that folks were suggesting could be refurbished. It's turned off by default in Sakai. I don't know if that's exactly what we're talking about. And I will also point out, as part of the competitive analysis done earlier, that was a feature that people appreciated about Piazza, practically as an example. And then I will also point out some of the discussion, I'm just recalling off the top of my head, other people were pointing out that there are some drawbacks, and so that could be a feature that would be enabled by the instructor or not. I think it depends pedagogically on how you want to use the forums tool. Do you want to surface, questions or answers to questions that would be effective or useful, Or, you know, do you want to pin posts is another suggestion here. And would that also, I'll also suggest, would that be part of grading? Is that something people want, not want, would not want? Or do see your faculty wanting, don't see your faculty wanting? Valerie's giving us a time check as well. We have a few minutes here. John says plus 100 to forms behaving the way other tools regarding grading. Kelly's saying, and this is what I wonder about in terms of our faculty. I don't know if ranking would be helpful, but just a thumbs up might be useful. I think there's some behavioral science around that we could have a side discussion about, but I'd agree with that. I think voting down could have a negative impact. You could look at, I believe Dan Ariely is a person who talks about the drawbacks of creating a downvote feature. Especially in a classroom. This is one of the things that we'd really like to have folks be involved in some of the discussions and also hopefully help us with usability and user experience testing. So that's something we're doing every other Thursday. We go up to our coffee shop upstairs and we catch up with real users and people who've never used Sakai before. And this is something that other schools are doing. And this could give you a general idea of what you want to bring to the group and suggest directly from your faculty. And it also lets you take some of the mock-ups that other folks have created and then provide input, you know, not just from us, because we're not the users, right? We're the people supporting the users. We want to hear from real folks using the tool. Or someone who is brand new to Sakai. I think I missed Christine. Adding an item in forms helps make the workflow consistent and predictable. This is commonly done in other tools. And this is honestly, this is very similar, I think, to how some of the discussions have gone in this group, is that we are focusing on centralized grading, adding grades, grade items from forums, and developing consensus, and also hashing out other ideas around other tools. Okay, well, I think we're almost out of time here, or we are out of time. Does anyone have any last thoughts or anything else they want to add? We'll go back. Please get involved. Pop this on your calendar, join us in Slack. If you're not in Slack, go for it. And check out that document. Check out some of the mock-ups that folks have created. I knew we were going to have time today to go into that, but we really appreciate your feedback and input, and we'd love for you to join.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate your presentation so much. I hope this helps everyone have some good innovative ideas that they could send your way or become more involved in the process. That would be wonderful. So everyone, thank Chris Lorch from Duke University, and we hope you enjoy the conference the rest of the day. And if you need to contact him, please grab his slide deck from the Sakai shell, and we thank you for being here today. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.